Hey there, this is the first video in what is going to be a series of videos. They relate to what life was like before anorexia, the causes of my anorexia, the journey through anorexia, which will take the biggest chunk obviously, and what life is like now, in the hope that it can give you some sort of insight as to how you may go about treatment, and it also may help the parents, carers of people who know someone with anorexia and how to cope with it. So, let's talk about life before anorexia in this first video. As a child, I was a very normal child. I was that kid who decided if he saw a tree, he'd go and climb it and then fall out of it. Surprisingly, though, I never broke a bone as a child. I guess I was quite bendy. Um, I was incredibly normal, actually. I was doing, mediocre in school. I was quite sporty, but not, obviously not to the point I was when I was anorexic. I just enjoyed what I was doing. But also, I was quite light-hearted. My dad said I used to tell a lot of funny jokes that he used to love, and yeah, just generally having a good time. However, this was during my primary school years. It was only when I moved to senior school, which in America may be high school, years 7 to 11, where things started to take a turn for the worse. I became quite good at what I was doing at school, so I was quite academic, and I'd score quite highly in all of the tests. I would outrank quite a few of my classmates, and this meant that by maybe year 8, year 9, I was subject to quite a lot of bullying. And this came in both physical and verbal forms. So verbally, people would take the mickey out of me. I remember I made the mistake of saying that my dad was a treasurer, so a finance manager. And so they just said, okay, we're going to take the piss out of you for being a pirate. Now, this may seem, very pedantic of me to get quite, sensitive about these things, but it was every day, and the things started to get quite bad. On top of that, I remember that people would start to making fun of my appearance. So, I don't know, but people said that I have quite a big forehead. So they'd come along, call me spamhead, and just slap me around the face. Now, in terms of physical, I remember almost every day where I'd come into the classroom in year 9, and someone would just slap me around the head, run off, and this was starting to take its toll on me. I broke down one day where I was expecting to get this slap. They slapped me, ran off. I decided to run after them, took them down in the field, and just punched them a few times. So these things really took its toll on how I was. What made me. Around this time as well, things were quite bad domestically. So my mum and dad were arguing all the time. I wasn't really good friends with my sister. We didn't really talk much, and if we did, it was normally arguing. And this meant that if you take my life, I have school, I have my friends, and I have home life. At school, I was being bullied. I hated school. I didn't really have that many friends because I became such a social recluse due to being bullied that I was too scared to try and seek friendships. And I did have 4, maybe 5 good friends who I did go and see regularly, but I never really felt part of something. And then you've got the home environment where it's equally hostile. So take all of this. This is my life. I never felt as though there was a place where I could just be myself, be happy. And as a result, I thought, well, what am I doing? And my life is spiraling out of control. And so I decided that I'd start to take interest in my appearance. So I think it was maybe 2005, New Year's Eve. I thought, okay, I need New Year's resolution quick. And I said, okay, look, I'm going to quit fizzy drinks and chocolate. And I thought, yeah, these are particularly unhealthy. You see all the people on TV scoffing their faces and getting really fat. So, why shouldn't I stop eating these things? And I was doing quite well. I was in control of what I was doing. I was happy. I was still actually quite normal. I could do what I wanted to do. Anorexia hadn't taken a hold of me. But, as maybe 6 months passed by, I started to cut out other things. Now, these other things included things like I'm trying to think, like pizza, high fat foods generally, because I thought to myself, well, these aren't healthy. I shouldn't be eating these kind of things. And it was only by maybe 2006 that I realized that I had really restricted what I was eating, although I could still go back and eat those things. Um, in I think late 2006, this is when anorexia truly started to take a hold of me. And it was around that time where I not only started to cut out individual foods like pizza, chocolate, but whole food groups. So I said to myself, I'm not going to eat high fat foods. I'm not going to eat foods high in salt because I was still quite convinced that I should try and maintain a healthy diet. And this meant that by maybe June of 2006, I was only eating things like chicken, lean meats generally, potatoes, lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, but I was still eating a normal amount of food in a day, so maybe that was maybe 2,500 calories. However, around this time, I started to look at myself in the mirror and I wasn't happy with what I saw. Now, this is where things started to get dangerous because I wasn't happy with the way I looked and I started to say, look, I need to get fit. I wanted this idyllic six-pack that everyone is talking about and you have to have if you want to be cool. So I would do lots of sit-ups in my room, convinced that this would be the best thing for me. And lots of press ups. I'd do lots of runs. I'd try to do as much sport as possible as I could at school, to the point sometimes where I'd just collapse out of pure exhaustion. Now this takes me up to October 2006, where I'd like to stop now, where I can actually talk about the transition from highly controlled to anorexia. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next week.